We'll call this meeting to order, October 18th, and I will take the roll call. Brian, I did the same thing as last time. Not popping up. It's probably my user error here. Yep. And start. Try that. Do I have to hit that? Okay. All right. I'll need a motion for approval of the agenda as presented.
I move the approval of the agenda as presented.
Brian, we're ready for the vote. All right. Deb, would you go ahead and please read the school district mission statement for us?
Sure. The mission statement of the Brookings School District is, the Brookings School District prepares all learners to be confident, engaged citizens, empowered to impact the ever-changing and interconnected world.
Thank you. Now it's our time for board members and administrators to identify any items that could be conflict of interest. Dr. Willard, do we have any of those?
Yes, we actually have 4 of them this evening to present to the board. The first one that I will share is presented by Mr. Gruenhagen. Chris Gruenhagen's spouse, Mrs. Lauren Gruenhagen, is a school psychologist in the district. So there is a relationship that exists there. The next one that is presented is Van Fishback is presented as a chair of the board for First Bank and Trust, and we do bank business with First Bank and Trust. The next one is presented by myself, Clint Willert. My son is Kesmond Willert, and he is an employee at Bose Construction. From time to time, the school district does contractual work with Bose Construction. And the final one is Kelly Books. She works with the SDSU Foundation, and the school district does do business with SDSU from time to time on occasion.
All right, so I'll need, once we can look at those, motion to consider the conflict of interest waivers as presented.
I move to present, or to approve the conflict of interest waivers as presented.
And I assume Wes and I, you want me to sync? Sorry. I assume I will recuse myself from this vote. Is that true, Brian? Okay. Says we can vote. We have 3 votes. Okay. Turn your mic on, Brian. Brian needs a mic.
I'll talk louder. You say we don't have to abstain, Brian?
I would believe that you wouldn't need, like where you would acknowledge your conflict.
Okay. All right. So I had a motion and a second.
We're going to make our mic adjustment here. Hold on, folks.
Alyssa said I could do well at this.
You are doing well.
All right, so Brian, I have a motion and a second, so we're ready for the vote. All right, motion passes. All right, so this is our time for members of the audience to address the board concerning issues that are not on the agenda, and presentations should be as brief as possible, and unless...
We have none this
We
evening.
have none, all right. Well, lots of you here, sorry I did not hear from you. All right, we'll move on to our Best Award recipients.
All right, this evening, board members, we always look forward to, first of all, this opportunity to recognize staff for their accomplishments and achievements. And for those in the audience, those at home, the Best Award stands for Bobcats Exhibiting Success and Triumphs. It's something that was initiated a few years ago in a way to acknowledge success and the work that our staff members do, and students for that matter. So if anybody is inclined, they can certainly nominate individuals, and that can be done online, or we have drop boxes in each of the schools. Tonight we find ourselves having the opportunity to recognize an individual and then a team of individuals. So first, tonight we'd like to provide a best recognition to Principal Brad Olinger. As you'll see in the statement, Brad Olinger is our Hillcrest Elementary principal, and schools across the country are facing severe staffing shortages. Pre-pandemic, the job of a principal was difficult, and finding ways to creatively cover classes to keep schools in session is increasingly difficult and adding to an already high stress level for principals. Mr. Olinger is a true leader. He covers for his staff and subs wherever he needs to. Hillcrest staff members are proud of Mr. Olinger for going above and beyond, and they want to continue in his efforts to continue to keep our schools open and educate our students in person. And you can tell by the verbiage that this was submitted by some staff members to recognize Brad. So let's all congratulate Mr. Olinger for being a Bobcat Best this evening. Board members, I'm eyeing the room to logistically figure out how we're going to handle this next one. And I'm really excited about this because we're just blessed with some amazing staff members here in Brookings. And can't say that enough. Tonight we get the opportunity to recognize a whole team of individuals. And this evening, you can see the list of names here: Ashley Hendricks, Sarah Bingen, Connie Gerard, Alyssa Hora, Emily McKinney, Julie O'Donnell, Carrie Smith, and Stephanie Ballard. And I'm just going to go ahead and read it, and there's a lot more that could be shared this evening. But Ashley and Sarah, as well as the rest of the middle school special education team, went above and beyond when a co-worker was unable to start school this year due to medical reasons. Without pausing to ask how they would manage their own caseloads, all while transitioning incoming students to the building after a crazy year last year, they rolled up their sleeves and all worked together and offered help with one another's caseload. These teachers stepped up, as they always do, to support kids and their coworkers. And again, I can't say enough about that, because it really does take a village, as it states in the recommendation form. And the middle school special education team is one of the best. So it gives me a great honor this evening to recognize our middle school special education team. So let's acknowledge them for being some of Bobcat's best as well.
Congratulations. Thank you. Just kidding. I won't do bunnies anymore.
And as long as I have the opportunity, I'm going to commandeer the microphone one more time, and this is not going to be the first, nor is it the last time that we'll have an opportunity to provide a little recognition for another exceptional achievement in our district this year. And since she's in the room, I'm going to take advantage of it. No tears involved, though, tonight, right, Steph? No tears involved tonight, though. I am so incredibly honored to see that Brookings has the South Dakota Teacher of the Year this year. Stephanie Ballard is going to do an outstanding job of not only carrying the banner on behalf of all the team of teachers in the Brookings School District, but for the entire profession across the state of South Dakota. Board members, I am so incredibly honored to recognize publicly again Stephanie Ballard as the South Dakota Teacher of the Year. Stephanie.
Thank you. Congratulations, everyone. I know I speak for the board when we're really proud of you all, so way to go. Thank you.
Just give us a little briefing of what is ahead for her this next year in terms of public engagements, public appearances, and the commitments. I'm sure there's commitments that come with it.
Yeah, and maybe we should even ask Stephanie some of that, but from what I understand, there's a few opportunities for her to be engaged. Do you want to actually approach and share some of the commitments that you'll have this year? And I know this is a little impromptu, but you're the Teacher of the Year.
That's right. Is this on?
Make sure the green light there.
There we go. Okay. So nothing has really come through yet. I just met with the Department of Education today, and I'm working on my application. I have 2 weeks to get it in for the National Teacher of the Year competition. So I have 2 weeks from tonight, and that has to be on. So I'll be busy with that. But I know that I'll be probably speaking at a special ed conference in March in South Dakota. So I think that one might be in Sioux Falls. I will go to like a number of different conferences. I know there's a National Teacher of the Year conference that's usually held in Dallas in like May or June that I'll probably either be asked to attend, and I might possibly present at that. I know I do tour like all the universities in South Dakota to do some speaking engagements with like future educators, college students. I think, so word is that I get to go to space camp for a week in June. And then I think next October, a trip to Washington, D.C., all the Teachers of the Year. So our South Dakota Teacher of the Year for 2020 and 2021 is there tonight, and they actually got to meet the Bidens tonight. So that was kind of cool. So anyways, yeah, I think next October there'll be like a trip to Washington, D.C. and some commitments there. So not sure yet, but it'll start, yeah, I think it'll get pretty busy come January, so, yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thanks, Wes. All right, now we will move on to the educational support staff presentation.
Well, as they're coming forward, I see Tammy up at the mic already, and so she's ready to go. Tammy had approached me shortly after, I think, the last board meeting. Maybe it was the August board meeting, and we sat down together, and she said, you know, I don't think a lot of people know all that the educational support staff in our district do, and she asked if it would be appropriate for that individual representatives from the educational support groups to come forward and present at the school board, and I said I think it certainly makes sense. So tonight you have a couple of presentations attached, but I know there are a number of educational support personnel that are going to utilize the 15 or 20 minutes just to give you an update on some of the different roles that they have within the district to support the functions that we have of educating our learners each and every day. So Tammy, I'll let you turn it over to you and whoever else you brought as supporting cast, all right?
All right, thank you so much. As Dr. Willard said, my name is Tammy Herrick. I'm a behavioral tech at the Mickelson Middle School. And I'd like to thank the board and Dr. Willard for this opportunity to present to you folks this evening. I'm sure we've heard tonight that it takes a village to raise a child. And we talk about inclusion. And we wanted to let everyone know that we are part of that village and how we affect the kids and our learners in our district. When you hear the word behavioral tech, you probably think, oh, good Lord, there's all kinds of stuff coming at you, bites, chairs, whatever it may be. I do deal with that sometimes, but on a majority of the time, I'm in the classroom working with students on learning how to use their own toolbox of how to de-escalate themselves using fidgets or asking for breaks or recognizing their triggers of when they're getting upset and things. And I do help with their academics also. When I started with the district 8 years ago, I was a TA also. And pretty much the difference there is that the behavior techs do work more with the behavioral children. They have those higher escalations and things. Otherwise, we pretty much do about the same thing. TAs tend to have more students that they work with versus a behavioral tech. We also carry along we call them our tool bags. I have snacks for students because they might have medications that require them to eat because they get hungry and the meds cause that. Fidgets. I bring extra pencils and pens and colors and all those things because that will prevent a behavior. If a child doesn't have it or the family might not be able to afford it, then we'll supply those for them. I'd rather have that than have somebody get upset and not be able to do their schoolwork. So I carry a book bag with me usually. I have a computer that the school lets me use that I document in situations and information for our case managers. And then to talk about how we are frontline folks. A couple of just quick stories is while I have been a behavior tech, I had a student that came to school always tired, really, really tired, would end up having behaviors. And I finally said, buddy, what's going on? And they said, well, I can't sleep at night because I'm afraid of what's going to come through the floor. And I said, what do you mean what comes through the floor? And he said, well, I can hear things. I'm like, it's that loud? And he goes, well, I sleep on the floor. My sister and I sleep on the floor. So at that point, I contacted our counselors and said, hey, can we do something? He comes running in a week and a half later and says, Miss Herrick, I got a bed. I got a brand new bed and I got bedding. And he was so excited about it. I have had a student that had struggles with taking medication. So in the morning we'd comb her hair, we'd put them up in bows. And so the little extra things we see. We tend to hear about things that happen at home before the teachers do, and then we relay it on to them. So with that closing, I do have a couple of thank yous that I want to share with you. The first one was a couple of years after I started, and our 6th grade teachers asked that the students write a thank you to a current teacher, a former teacher, and even if they've left the building. So mine was, Dear Miss Herrick, thank you for supplying school supplies for students and being the kindest person on the planet. Thanks for all the police badges you got for me. With that, this child's parents contacted me and said, will you please move to the high school with them? And I said, well, that's not my decision. And my administration said, absolutely not, she stays here. But the parents also indicated that this is something that he made some dramatic changes while he was with us, and they were very thankful that I had been working with him and seen the changes that he had. Then my first year there, I had a student that had some struggles, and they graduated last year, and I received a graduation announcement. Now, due to the pandemic and things, I was unable to attend, but I did send a card and a little something in it, and I got a thank you back, and it says, thank you for sending the card and the money. I'm really thankful for all I got to meet you, really helped me through the middle school when I was struggling, and I couldn't thank you enough. So we do have a big part of that village and being there for our students. It's not just I'm a behavior tech or a TA. We are involved with our kiddos, and in reality, we do help with the teachers, but we're actually, if they could reword it to being a student assistant as opposed to a teacher assistant, we give our students a lot more assistance probably than the teachers. I thank you for your time tonight, and I'll have Karen come up and talk about what she does within the libraries. Thank you.
I have to say, I thought we had more time, so I did this nice little letter stuff. I was all prepared. And then after school, found out, oh, we don't have as much time as we think. So I'm just gonna highlight, and afterwards, I printed a couple out if you want them, because I'm gonna skip a bunch. So, first, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Karen Bjorklund Allgood, and I am the librarian here at Dakota Prairie. I grew up in Volga and currently live there with my husband and daughter. I graduated from Dakota State in 1989 with a bachelor's degree in elementary ed and a specialization in special education. The past 32 years has gone by way too quickly. I have been fortunate to have many different experiences and opportunities in education along the way. But I always said my dream job would be reading to the kids. So, when I had my very own classroom, it was always one of my favorite parts of the day. So when the opportunity arose and there was an opening in the library, I felt compelled to go for it. Now, of course, I have found out that there is much more to the library than just reading to our learners. And I would really like to thank you all for this opportunity to come tonight and talk to you about what my job really entails on any given day. The mass misconception, of course, what a librarian does is check in and check out books and put them away. Well, I guess I'm here tonight to set the record straight. This year, I am serving about 430 students. Of course, that varies from year to year on our enrollment. Currently, that means I am teaching 20 sections from junior kindergarten to third grade. I am in the rotation schedule with the encore teachers, art, music, PE, computer, and ACEs. The time that our learners are in encore is the prep time for our classroom teachers. I teach each section twice a week with a half-hour block. Class time responsibilities include classroom management, teaching the lesson, dealing with behaviors, any organizing that might be involved, and of course, checking out procedures. Now, I'm going to skip a whole page. And that's the page you can get from me later if you want. But I am going to make note of two of the things I had on my page of list of other things I do. And because there's a whole lot more, and I'm sure I've missed many of them even on my list, especially all those things that involve the social emotional that we do for our students. But the last two things on my list were two things that I really wanted to make a note about. And that was, I do a ticket plan in my room that I've organized, and I provide books for that ticket plan. And I really want to share it with you because it really excites me. That ticket plan, I think the learners love it even more than I do, because one year I decided not to do it, and they did not like it at all. So I've gone back to it. What I do after each class period, I give out a ticket to two of our learners who have done either a good job in listening that day, maybe they've used good manners, maybe they've just been a really good friend to somebody. In turn, with those tickets, first through third grade can use their tickets to check out an extra book on checkout day, or they can save it. And once they've saved 3 tickets, they get a free book from Mrs. Allgood. The kindergartners, to simplify, they just get to save 3 tickets. And once they've all saved 3 tickets, they get a free book from Mrs. Allgood. Now, you might wonder, well, where does she get all these books? So to supply these hundreds, literally, of books I give away every year, because they can earn up to 3 books about a year, I do a lot of rummaging. And my husband can attest. He has sat in our van and taken naps before when we get to rummages, and I sit down on the concrete and look through the books. But I'd also like to know, I have some other great help. Sometimes people donate. People that know that I do that, they donate me books. Mr. Rich down here at the Brookings Book Company, he is amazing. I just am like, Rich, I'm running low, I need some books. He gives me books to just give to the kids. Anyway, I love how this works in getting books into the students' hands and their excitement when they have earned 3 tickets and get to choose their book. Also, seeing their faces light up when they receive the ticket for the day is awesome. I hope this has helped make it more clear what really happens in a library, at least in mine. I love my learners, and I'm very blessed to be a part of their daily lives. I love my job, and I'm very grateful to be a part of Dakota Prairie. After all, someone that we all know would say, it's a great day to be a Bobcat. So thank you for your time, and anybody have any questions for me? No? Anybody want my speech?
I'll take
I
page 2.
did. Have my overdue list.
And I'm not here for a Brookings Bobcat Award this time. I've gotten 2. Just saying.
She's on the phone. Give it to Amanda.
Do you know how to go through it, babe? The forward button. All right, it's on.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Schwartz. I work at Hillcrest Elementary School, and I'm the head custodian there.
He's got a nice little presentation. I just put together 12 pages. I got to get it on the right page. Hello, first I want to tell you my name is Kim Huber. I'm the head custodian at Dakota Prairie Elementary. I have been a custodian for over 25 years, 3 different schools and 1 event center. You know, I can't say that name. Just wanted to say that it has really changed from the first time I did my first custodial job. I started out with general cleaning, garbage, sweeping, vacuuming, wiping desks, doing some windows, and of course the restrooms. I also did a lot of events, basketball, volleyball, football, music, orchestra, you name it, I cleaned up after it. In addition to Gabe's little PowerPoint, I was asked by some custodians to mention a few of the extra duties. We do some bus driving, we do some snow removal, and we do get up in the middle of the night to check the alarms and then go back home and are back here at 6 o'clock in the morning. These cards right here was a really nice tool that Hilliard, a cleaning resource business and a cleaning supply that we do use, gave us these nice cards to help us clean. I'm just going to take 1 card and quickly go through it. Empty 1 garbage can. disinfect it and reline it, and do that daily. Most of my classrooms here have 3 or 4 trash cans. Straighten desks, tables, and chairs, which is done daily, and you pretty much got to do that before you start to clean. Disinfect counters and sinks, which is done also daily. Doesn't include the doorknobs, the light switches, the desktops, and we're all doing this because of COVID. Vacuuming or sweeping floors, done daily. Some rooms here at Dakota Prairie have tile and carpet, 2 services, 1 room. Some of the cards ask to help save time, sweep or vacuum 2 or 3 times a week. I feel as an elementary level, this is not acceptable. With snacks and all the extra little tools that the teachers use to teach their class. Another suggestion was now weekly suggestions. Check, refill soap and hand sanitizers. I have 85 in this building. Also, another thing that isn't on the suggestions for a weekly cleaning is smart boards and whiteboards, which every room has. No more chalkboards, thank God. Monthly suggestions, dust, de-lime sinks. Just about every room in just about every school building has a sink. They also ask maybe to spot shampoo your carpets once a month. At an elementary level, most days there is accidents, barf, mud, water from the water bottles that everybody has. So I've done a little research. I found a, yep, you go right ahead.
Hello. So before she moves on, I'll go over this one PowerPoint. So what she was kind of explaining is more, I would say, a night custodian position. We got to break it up. You got a day custodian, you got a night custodian. Your day guys typically is the head custodian. So if you look at my slide, or I don't know if you have it or if you can see it, I've got some other stuff that I kind of pointed out. It says tables need to be set up for breakfast. You know, kids come in 7:30, they want breakfast. So we're there, like she says, early in the morning, getting stuff set up. We live in South Dakota, so we got winter 9 months a year, it seems like. So number one, you gotta make sure we got boilers going, make sure we got heat going, make sure the building is capable to handle these kids that are coming in. Yeah, like I said, no ice around the school. We do that on a daily basis, sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a day, depending on the weather, how things go. Remove snow, salt, sand if it's new concrete. I got some scrub graffiti off walls, and make sure school is ready for learners. I'll let you go on.
Okay. All right. This little research I found, it was from an Education Statistics and Planning Guiding for Maintaining School Facilities. It talks all about levels of cleaning. Level 1 cleaning is a detailed cleaning like a hospital, which I'd like to do in every building, but it doesn't happen. Level 2 cleaning in a school, but at an elementary level. A level 3 cleaning is cleaning at a higher level of school, colleges included. Level 4 cleaning is malls and department stores. And level 5 is low maintenance cleaning in a bank.
The scum is there all the time anyways.
And they do some levels of cleaning, and they tell you how much square footage you can clean in a certain amount of time and what it's going to look like when it's done. So, which was very interesting, which I have that if anybody would like to look at it. Also, I found some numbers maybe rounded up, but it's close because Amanda hasn't started my time, which is good. I found these numbers on a paper or a pamphlet, Brookings District Facility Master Plan of Brookings from August of 2017. Hillcrest consists of 55,000 square feet, 1 head janitor, 2 at night. Head janitors don't do 8 hours of cleaning. We do all these other little things that are that Gabe has in his PowerPoint.
Yep, I'll stop you right there. So if you look at this slide right here, this is kind of my day. I made this kind of for what I do at a daily basis at Hillcrest Elementary School. So, we start with breakfast. I facilitate breakfast, help facilitate as much as I can, make sure students have what they need, napkins, silverware. I don't know how many milk jugs, containers I open on a daily basis. Don't know how many spills I clean up. Oh yeah, constantly forgetting backpacks, hats, gloves, sweaters, coats, so forth and so on. Help out when needed, and then, of course, I clean the cafeteria whenever we're done, so it's ready for lunch at 11. Okay, so if you look here, before lunch, I get a period of time between 9 and 11. I kind of call my free time. That's kind of whenever I try and do whatever I can between that 9 to 11. So I do my general maintenance, I do my laundry, I try dust, I do windows, clean up accidents, fix plumbing all the time, older building, of course. Make sure the flags, if it's going to fly at half-staff, is at half-staff or not. And then the last one, just stand at the ready to help any teacher get what they need to provide a conducive learning environment for the students. Or a healthy office, yes.
All right, Maderi has 56,000 square feet, 1 head janitor and 2 at night. DP, Dakota Prairie, has 95,000 square feet, 1 head janitor, 1 day janitor, and 1.5 at night. Camelot has 91,000 square feet, 1 head janitor during the day, a half a janitor during the day, and 2 at night. Middle school, now when this survey was taken, it didn't have the new addition on. So I added the +1 option remodel to the existing square footage. 208,000 square feet, 1 head janitor, 1 daytime janitor, 4.5 at night. High school, 249,000 square feet, 1 head janitor, 1 daytime janitor, and 5 at night. We do the best that we can because we're all here and we love our job. We are a Brookings Bobcat person also. So Gabe's not quite done, but I am. And I just want to say thank you for letting us tell our side. And I really do love being an essential staff member at the Brookings Bobcat School.
All right, so I'll go. Next, we got lunch. That's the 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock hour. That's a 2-hour period where I think me and Kim and every other day janitor can kind of say, hey, this right now is we got to kick it in high gear. My school is smaller than Kim's school. I think, roughly 300 kids coming in and out. I'm sure Kim's seeing 400, maybe 500, so forth and so on as we get in bigger schools, middle school and high school. Like I said, during lunch, I'm kind of just in the cafeteria helping out any which way I can, getting condiments, opening milks once again, talking with kids. I mean, they got the funniest stories you'll ever hear. It's a great time. Once 1 o'clock comes around, we get the kids out, clean up, pack up tables so the cafeteria is ready for GAP because I got GAP coming in right on my heels at that. And then end of day, I say is my 1:45 time frame. I do another final walk through the school, finish up any maintenance projects that I started for that day, clean up accident spills once again. I always like to take about 30 minutes so I can set up my next day knowing, hey, I'm coming in at X time. I got to do this before, I get too busy. Check in with my night crew guys. I got 2 guys at night, so I always check in with them, make sure everything is good. I like to get a kind of report before I leave, of what happened the night before. And then I just wanted to mention this, Mickelson Middle School and Brookings High School, they're way bigger than what I am. They're way bigger than what Kim are. So they got band practice. They've got dances that they do, So that's a lot of extra stuff that they do that's just added on to their day. They still got to do their allotted time of work and their allotted 8 hours, and then some of those extra stuff that they do. So I just want some recognition for those guys because they do work hard, and that's it, I suppose.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Oh, I got a letter here that a teacher wrote me I would like to pass out. I didn't want to read it, I guess, I'm not. But I will pass one out there.
Some other time. Good evening. It was hat day today at school, and you don't want to see what the hair looks like under this hat since I've been wearing it all day. My name is Jan Schallenkamp, and I work at Hillcrest as the Secretary Administrative Assistant. Just going to go over some of my responsibilities and what I contribute to the school system. So my day usually starts about between 7:30 and 7:45, and it ends each day right around 4. Try to maintain that. It includes any kind of office things, answering the phone, covering for the nurse when she's not there, helping teachers and staff whenever possible. I distribute anything that comes in the building I know about. Distributing mail, newspapers, packages, checking in visitors. We do a lot of communication through the office and, with buses, with outside people that come in and things like that. Also, I monitor students sometimes when we have students that are in the office for different reasons. So that's some of my daily responsibilities. Some of my weekly responsibilities include making sure that staff absences and substitutes are in the ASOP system. I help to maintain the hourly time clock for all the hourly staff that are working in the building, and that's an infotronic system that's used for that. Also, we monitor student attendance, and all of our student records are in Infinite Campus, so that's also another program that we use. Also, I take care of most of the copiers and printers in the building, making sure that we have supplies and things for those. And then I also update the school website when needed for our building. So those are just some of the things I work on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. And then I have yearly responsibilities that we do, and usually things that just happen once a year, like maintaining safety procedures and evacuation supplies and making sure those things are all up to date. We maintain a staff handbook and create things that need to be included in that. I help to set up the back-to-school days, and we create information and packets and things like that that are passed out for that. Also, we have school supplies lists that each school creates so that parents know what supplies to buy at the beginning of the year. We also do kindergarten screening. We help to organize that. We greet families, make them feel comfortable when they're bringing their students in for the first time. I update bulletin boards around the school. I'm always keeping student records up to date. We do that for Infinite Campus, but we also maintain a paper file as well for each student. And we also do once a year with the student count on October 1st. It usually falls around there for the South Dakota Department of Ed. That's maintaining and making sure all of our records are up to date and inclusive. My next slide is, these are the opportunities that I see each day, and I like to look at them as opportunities to make contacts. I'm the first contact that a person has when they walk in the building. I try to promote a positive attitude and be a friendly face when they come in, no matter what they're coming in for. I try to set a positive tone for the office and the staff. I also try to communicate with the staff and everyone that's in the building as much as I can and for whatever reason. Also, I do a lot of interaction with students.
Our nurse does a class at the high school in the morning, so she doesn't come in until 10. We appreciate you extending the hours for the nurses through the ESSER funds and increasing their time in the other buildings. Ours, unfortunately, didn't get increased, but, so I cover for her. So I deal with students when they're emotional, when they're hurt, when they're making bad choices sometimes. And I look at that as an opportunity to help educate, to help them feel better about themselves or help them have a better day. And my last opportunity is that we work with our administrators as a team, and that's always a good, enjoy that. We try to better the school as much as we can by working as a good team together. We really appreciate the opportunity to present tonight all of our support people here and the jobs that they do to promote and have a good school system.
Clint, just an isolated question with regard to just the presentation. That is, does our system have just sort of like a one-touch concept when it comes to student information? In other words, the information that's put on out in the school, is it come to the central office and it's you know what I mean? It's all there, or do you have to repeat some of that information in the central office?
A lot of the Infinite Campus tool that was mentioned does that. There are certain other things with communications that are ancillary tools, like you'll hear references to Class Dojo, for example, as a communication tool that's not integrated with Infinite Campus, but really much of the administrative items that you heard referenced, that Mrs. Schellenkamp referenced, is really addressed for Infinite Campus. Behaviors, those types of things can be addressed through that one tool, yeah.
All right. Thank you all.
Yeah, great job, thank you.
I just want to say too, thank you. I know you don't hear thank you enough, because we're not always there to be able to do that, and I know parents are not always thanking you as much as they should, because we really do appreciate everything you do to contribute. In fact, I'll just share that when the architects were here at our last school board meeting, they said the buildings were so clean, they really did not, they didn't give the presentation of the things that needed to be fixed. They go, when people come in, they look so nice, they don't realize that some of the structure is not as good as it is. And he was referring to Hillcrest, Madera, and Dakota Prairie. He'd been to all three schools. So I think that's another really kudos for our custodians and what a good job they do. But I know all of you, just thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, thank you. I wrote, thanks for helping open milk. That's the best. That makes me happy. All right. Ready to move on? All right. These are information, communication, discussion items. Do we have anything from the Performance Oversight Committee?
Nothing tonight.
Do we have anything from the Facilities and Construction Committee?
Well, we covered much of this at our 3 o'clock planning session, workshop session, but just for the public record, we have been meeting on Hillcrest and dairy planning for improvements of those educational environments. And I might add, we have been also working with Beta as well, and that's on the agenda later this evening, so.
I think I wrote down that that Facilities Committee has met 4 times, I believe, with a group of the building principals, as well as other administrative teams, and just appreciated the work that we've got started. And yes, there was more at our earlier meeting, and you'll continue to hear more about that work. Any updates from the Policy and Governance Committee?
We continue to meet to look at the policies and update them as needed. They've been reviewed by the Associated School Boards Association, and they've offered many suggestions. As you know, we'll have several of them tonight that we'll look at as our second reading and first reading, and then Melissa and I will be meeting again this Friday with Dr. Willard and Amanda to look at another group of policies as we continue to move through the entire set.
Thank you. Anything from the Human Rights Ad Hoc Committee? Okay. Anything from the School Finance Ad Hoc Committee?
Again, we touched on some of those things kind of peripherally in the 3 o'clock meeting, and Wes and I will be meeting again before the next meeting, which will be a week from tonight.
All right. Anything from the Intergovernmental Relations Ad Hoc Committee? Melissa, any update on that?
I don't think I have too much to note. We did talk about a number of things at the school district at this meeting, and Dr. Willard, please feel free to jump in and share as well. But we talked through a little bit of the search survey results. It seemed like a pretty common theme around the table that there were staffing shortages all around, so we're kind of all in this together. And overall, it was a good meeting. Dr. Willard, you want to focus on any key points as well?
Just a comment that it's a intergovernmental relations for a reason. We bring together different parties throughout the community, the school district, the university, Brookings Municipal Utility, the county, the city, and it's an opportunity just to talk about how we can share in partnership around different things. And there was just some talk about our facility planning work that's going on, some discussion about community development. So it's just a good way to work together strategically for the improvement of the community of Brookings as a whole. And I think it's just been really positive, and look forward to more to come as we continue our conversations with those different parties.
Thank you. And then any updates from the Mental Health Coalition?
Nothing tonight. We haven't met again yet.
Any other general board member communication?
Just a couple of attendance items. First of all, Clint and I were privy to another presentation by Chad Adamson a week ago, maybe Wednesday or so. I'm not exactly sure when, but it was the same deck that he used a couple months ago here. And he made the presentation to a group, kind of an open group of citizens that always come together and want to do good things for Brookings. And he was very well received, I would say, Clint, and much appreciated. And I don't know, any other color that I'm kind of forgetting?
I think it was reassuring to have him present because it did provide a greater awareness within our broader community, and that's what through those presentations that Mr. Adamson has done, we're trying to do. We only know we can take action on things that we're aware of, and that was really the effort of having Chad present to that group, was to build awareness and to generate some further conversation. And again, we had some partners in the process at the table, United Way, for example. So it was good to bring that group together and have the opportunity to share.
I think it was comforting to Clint and me that the group really honed in right away on the critical issues. That was reassuring. The other thing I was going to mention, Kelly, is that for the benefit of non-board members that attended, you and I and Wes went to teaching as a profession class at the Brookings High School, again, about a week ago.
Yep.
Had a wonderful time, good interaction, not with the teacher alone, but with a lot of the students. And so I felt very rewarded for the time spent there, and that was good.
I might add that I attended as a guest to a service club today, and an individual stood up and said, I want to represent the community that sometimes being on the school board or other entities of public service in Brookings is not always, aren't always treated well. My response was, yes, but we had a very respectful dialogue relative to our COVID plan 2 months ago, or September or August, I guess, yeah. And I respond that way, which I think my colleagues will agree with me on, so.
Thank you. All right, this is now a chance for the superintendent to share information about events of the past month or topics coming up in the future, and I know we have a couple attachment board members for that. Time for them all to leave when the superintendent has to talk. See you later.
Here's your sign. Here's your sign, Dr. Willard. Thanks again for your presentation this evening. All right, certainly a number of things that we can report on. I'll keep this relatively brief because I do know we've had a lot of conversation already today, and certainly a number of things that we could highlight. As you know, we continue to struggle with some of these teaching positions, and that's why tonight we're presenting a suggested action for substitute teachers to find ways to reward our retirees that are choosing to be part of the substitute list. And we're continually watching for ways that we can recognize opportunities for increasing staffing and support, so just know that we're continuing to do all we can. I recently did have an opportunity to present to our Realtors Association in town. That was something that I had reached out to them to do pre-COVID, and then that ended up being delayed because of COVID, and we finally found the opportunity to do that. Something I wish I would have done a long time ago. It was a really good discussion, and I think we have a lot of friends in the Realtors Association that are willing to work with us to promote what's going on in the Brookings School District. We had generated a flyer, if you will, that highlighted some of the stories of Brookings School District and shared it with them. They gave us some constructive feedback. We've made some edits. We've shared that with that group digitally so they can hand it to prospective clients, and it's a way just to continue to promote our school district and our wonderful work that we're doing here. So that was very positive. Legislative meetings, I know it's October right now, but it's soon going to be time to start talking about that. We will be lining up our legislators to meet with them. We've done it a couple of different ways in the past, so I'd be willing to take some feedback from our board leadership the next time we meet. So Kelly and Melissa, there's been times when we've had a meeting of the whole board with them and some representatives from the administrative group and the teacher group. There's been times where we've just had board representation and not the full board. So if you have your preference one way or the other, please let me know or Kelly or Melissa know, because then I think it's an opportunity for us to plan accordingly. I would look to doing our meeting sometime in probably December after the budget address by the governor, so that we know what we can start thinking about advocating for as we go forward. It's going to be an interesting session in that regard because the measure of inflation is calculated over, I believe, 24 months, and that is a far different picture than what real-time inflation is. And as we think about that, we have to remember that school funding is based upon inflation or 3%, whichever is less. And right now, inflation is greater than 3%. And there's concerns that if we don't get to even the 3%, we're going to fall farther behind in our teacher and staff compensation. So just some issues to start thinking about. You've already heard me acknowledge Stephanie tonight, so won't do any more with that. But another group that I hope that you have the opportunity, board members, to recognize, it is, and many of them are in the room this evening, it is National Principals Month. And so I'm just going to go through them all, and you can see their happy faces on a flyer that went out to all staff and parents. Mr. Gruenhagen, Mrs. I didn't hear a thing, Mr. Olinger. Mrs. Weber, Mr. Olinger, Dr. Lean, Dr. Von Fisher, Mr. Stanley, Mrs. Smith, and Mr. Foster. They do incredible work and spend tireless and countless hours on behalf of our students, our staff, and our entire community. This is an incredible team of leaders, board members that I am so proud of and all the work that they do. So please join me in thanking them for all they do for the Brookings School District. Addison, if you're looking for some good writing material, there you go. All right. A couple other reports. The middle school report. There's an 8th grade economics fair. That was a pretty neat exercise. You can see a picture there. The high school report, I don't know if it happened to you, but as I went to it, it says not approved for viewing, but it has been approved, so it is there. We'll make certain that everything's corrected with that. Just a couple of items to highlight in that report for you that if you're able to see it, great. I can't when I scrolled through it on my screen, so I don't know what happened. I was able to see it earlier today, but we'll figure that out, Amanda. Yeah, we'll get it figured out. A couple of things. First of all, we're having some challenges with attendance. And it's one of those issues that I think goes back to some of the things that we saw highlighted in the search survey results. And it's not just kids not coming to school. That's one measure of attendance. But we have another measure of attendance that's become a little bit challenging. And I look forward to an opportunity to present further at the board table on this, where kids are crossing the threshold, the first threshold to get into the building, but they're not crossing the next threshold, which is the threshold into the classroom. And so our principals and support staff are sweeping the building for kids, trying to get them directed to the right space and the right place where they need to be. So that's been more challenging this year than in previous years, certainly taking more time this year than in previous years. A couple other things that I know there's been some questions as we talk about our 8th grade group that will soon be moving to the high school, and I say that because we're nearly done with the first quarter of school, so 3 more quarters, and they're officially high schoolers. This is the large group of students, so we're going to have to start thinking about planning for classrooms and spaces, for staffing accordingly, obviously, as everything comes together. The other factor that's part of this group is this is our first cohort of those individuals with some MCL experience, and accordingly, there have been plans that have been worked on over the last couple of years, some of them kind of with some starts and fits as a direct result of COVID, but nonetheless still in the works, and it ties back to the career pathways model that we discussed earlier this evening. So in the board report, there's some references to that. So if you have not seen that, I apologize. It was approved. I did read it today. So again, we'll make certain that you have that in your hands and you can reference that when you think about what's going on relative to customized learning experiences and what that translates into, starting to at least in the high school. Camelot, the board report, you can see the implementation of the positive behavior intervention support program has been very well received. You'll see that reference in some other reports as well. As far as metrics go, when you're handing out 1,300 tickets a week for positive behaviors where students are having their names put in a hat for a potential prize at the end of the week, I think that's very reassuring that it's having the right impact and influence on our student behaviors that we want. I know as I've talked to teachers about this, the feedback that I've heard is, yeah, I really think this is making a difference in our schools. So again, kudos to all those that are working hard to implement that effort, because it does make a difference on our student behaviors. And again, as mentioned before, staffing issues, our behavior techs and teacher assistant areas have been real challenges, and every building's been dealing with that. The Dakota Prairie Administrative Report, there's a little cross-reference to the Special Education Report as well. You may recall a couple of years ago we had a presentation in this building where Mrs. Sauer was having her class go around and serving snacks on Fridays to the staff at Dakota Prairie. Well, we had stopped that practice because of COVID, but good news is it's back, and so it's helping teach some students some very important life skills, and at the same time providing some recognition for our staff, and it's just a really neat program. And then the early childhood program, looks like they had like the best week ever, because they had not just a fire truck but a big tractor, and had the chance to explore those things here in Dakota Prairie, and you can see a couple of pictures associated with that. Hillcrest had a guest artist, Corey Hill, that presented, and then Again, a program that you've heard about at this board table, board members, is the Girls on the Run program. Right now, we have 16 third-grade girls that are enrolled in the class. And as you may recall, it's a program that's very transformational around physical activity and really emphasizing youth development efforts around the idea of running. The Maderi report has highlighted a float that they had in the homecoming parade, and we'll highlight a little bit more about homecoming coming up. But the other thing that was pretty impressive that happened at Maderi was, if you can't go to the pumpkin patch, well, we're going to bring the pumpkin patch to you. And after 300 pumpkins, some volunteer cross-country runners, third grade students, and a couple of staff members, they actually had a great pumpkin patch at Maderi. So again, you can see some pictures, and again, for all those that made that experience possible, thank you. Director of Curriculum and Instruction, a couple of items that are gaining a considerable amount of attention. And that has to do with the standards and the discussion about standards revisions, particularly around the area of social studies. So there's going to be some delay on those implementation. There are some public hearings around some other standard areas, though, fine arts standards, CT standards, which are currently up for review. And there's a meeting on educational standards scheduled for October 25th. You can go to the website and see some more information about all those things, board members, if you're so inclined. And then October 8th in-service was well received. I've heard positive feedback from staff about the different options that were presented, and thanks to Dr. Vandy Weird for scheduling and coordinating those events. The Director of Special Services program, you heard mention again of the effort with Mrs. Sauer's class. But there's something pretty unique that's happening with the Brookings County Youth Mentoring Program, and it's tied in with a couple of other entities, Advanced Youth or Young Transitions Program, as well as Independent Living Choices of Brookings, and is to create a career readiness and mentoring program for high school students and transition age young adults that have some sort of disability. And the mentoring program was one of 33 programs nationwide to obtain a disability mentoring certificate, which allowed for some of this career readiness curriculum to be included. And so we're excited to be a partner in that process with our broader community. I believe there's been some press, or there will be some press related to that. And again, it's a very unique opportunity that was provided right here in Brookings that does not occur everywhere. So if you get a chance to interface with any one of those individuals representing any of those organizations, please express thanks, because it's a direct benefit for our students and our learners. Also, we have 4 individuals that will be attending a training by USD, and it's around autism. So as we continue our efforts to support autism needs among our children, that's very important that we continue our staff development in that area as well. The Director of Activities, want to dive right in and say thanks to all who turned out for our homecoming celebration. The parade on September 24th was nothing less than incredible. I've heard great feedback from so many that attended and participated. We have 52 different entrants that participated, and you can see the different awards that went out from our FFA team with Josh Johnson as the advisor, receiving the best school spirit. Of course, it's pretty easy when you throw a softball out to the FFA guy with a corn theme. But then we had volleyball senior parents that had some great parade floats as well, and just outstanding community support. Fall musical, you can mark your calendars for November 18th to the 20th. And then something that just happened over the weekend, if you didn't know, Brookings is the quad state champions in marching band this year. So just an incredible feat for our marching band program. The hours that go into that, and I know that having been a former band parent, it's nothing short of amazing what was accomplished there. So kudos to all those kids, families, and our band staff to make that happen. Child nutrition, product availability, we are experiencing, albeit a little bit right now, some challenges with supply chain with our food service programs, not to the extent that some districts across the country are. You may start hearing about some districts offering nothing but a sack lunch option, and that's because they do not have supply chain availability of food. And knock on wood, so far, supply chain disruption has not been that significant, but certainly something that Laura Swear is keeping her eye on. She and I have visited about this just about every week, in fact, as we keep our eye on what's happening with our supply chain. And we just are doing our very best to keep people informed about menu changes and choices. Director of Instructional Technology, you talk about being busy. Again, they have a ticket system. While this one's a little different, their tickets are for needs across the district with computer repairs or fixes or attention to technology glitches. And they've closed over 891, I should say over 891 because of the timing of this report. Tickets in the district. They have been working very hard and continue to do so. And then just an important message for everybody, not just within the system, but outside as well. Continue to be on the alert for phishing scams. That's phishing with a PH, because there have been a number of scams out there, and particularly people trying to capture and harvest individual information. So just be aware of those. And Jason does a nice job of spelling out some look-fors in his report for all staff, parents, and board members, for folks like you and I as well. Director of Transportation, unfortunately, to report because of staffing shortages, we've had to cancel, consolidate, or reschedule 3 different events this past month. We're not unique in this in any way. This is a national issue. We are working hard to continue to advocate for bus drivers and seeking opportunities to find drivers. And again, Nate is just doing a great job of promoting all the good things about our bus barn and our transportation services. Director of Business Services, we've had an agreement with the city. They're going to inspect our playgrounds and go through some of that work there. And then you can see that there are a number of items listed on different projects going on, from resurfacing the parking lot at the district offices, some roof repairs, some telephone changes, fire alarm systems, and the like. So, and then earlier tonight, you did hear some information about our ESSER 2 and 3 plan changes that we're going to work through. So those are the items I wanted to highlight. Would stand ready for any questions.
Any questions, board members? If not, I'll move us on to our monthly financial overview and update.
All right. Just very briefly on the revenue side of the board report, the district did not get the September state aid until October 1st. So if you're looking at any revenue reports or cash reports, it'll be down significantly from the prior month. And then just one note, we believe our final enrollment numbers are in. It's down a little bit than the initial number. It's 3,401 students, 0.06. And that's the 0.06 is, it always ends up that way because of partial enrollments. Last year, our enrollment at the last Friday of the month in September was 3,344.5 students. It's a growth of 56.56 students. For informational purposes, or just so in case you're curious, our state aid this year, we receive about $6,210.94 per student. So this increase of 56 students amounts to about $351,000, which will help us reduce our reliance on use of fund balance. Unless there were any questions on the board bills, that's all I had to report on. 6,200 and round up, $6,211 basically.
6210.94
Per student.
Yep.
Any questions from the board members for Brian?
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to other communication or discussion items.
The next item is just an informational item. And board members, if you're interested in attending, please let me know. I know a couple of us have attended some of these in the past. DeSmit isn't too terribly far away, so if you're so inclined, October 27th, that's the regional meeting for our region. And if you're interested in attending, please let Amanda know. We'll go ahead and get registration taken care of and plan accordingly. So, all right. This one's in to submit.
All right, thank you. Now we'll head into our policy communication discussion items. There are 6 discussion items in a second reading. And so I will go through those, and if board members have any questions, now would be the time to ask those on the second reading, as those are on the agenda to approve later, and then the first readings will go into after that. So the first is the second reading of the revision being made to policy GBEC, the drug-free workplace. Any comments or questions on that? Okay, the next was the policy GCBE, the vacation holidays for employees. Any comments or questions on that?
Very few changes made. That one was just the addition of Juneteenth, which was made a federal holiday. So other board members, if you know, in looking at these, you have questions, bring them up, but that one I just wanted to point out.
Okay, the next is the second reading of the revisions made to JFCH, the alcohol and other drug use by learners. Any questions or comments? Okay, the next is the JHCD, administering medicines to learners. Questions or comments there?
We did have input from our nursing staff, so that was an important element in making decisions regarding this policy. So we did hear from Jackie Jensen and the nurses about that.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next is JHCDE, administration of medical cannabis to qualifying learners. Questions or comments?
The comment I would make here is that these policies are brand new because of the change that was made in state law. So these basically came from the Associated School Boards, their recommendation for all school districts.
All right, and then the last and the second reading is policy JECBA, foreign exchange students. Questions or comments on that? Okay, now we'll move on to the section notifying you of the first reading of a new policy. And that's IGDK, participation of alternative instruction learners. And then JEA, compulsory attendance areas. It's the first reading.
And Kelly, I would just note that both of these are almost entirely new, so they would be worth the board's time to spend a little bit of running your eyes over.
Thank you, Melissa.
And we are meeting Monday. I think I said Friday, but it's Monday at noon. So if other board members have comments or concerns, please let us know before we meet on Monday, if you could.
So for item number 7.32 and 7.33, the first reading of the new policies, participation of alternative instruction learners and compulsory attendance areas, those are both new policies
Is
this year.
that meant to be areas or ages?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yep. Okay, we'll correct that. Yay, Van. Could have been my eyesight. Need those readers, Deb. Okay, the next will be the first reading of JECAA, learners enrolling from alternative instructions and unaccredited schools.
I just had a question there. Clint, is it, we're pretty much focusing on alternative instruction, and it seems to me like the reference to homeschool is kind of a hangover from maybe when we started in 2013, and I just wanted to, it's up to you whether you want to leave it in there or not.
Great point, something we should take a look at, probably when our policy committee gets together, because the legal term is alternative instruction. So, yeah, we'll reference that and make certain that that's vetted. It has been through the Associated School, but we can take a look at that.
Thank you. Sorry, it's just catching up. The next is the first reading of revisions being made to policy JEE, learner attendance. Any comments or questions there? The next is JEG, exemptions from school attendance.
And again, this one is almost entirely new, and that was recommendations made to us by the Associated School Board. So again, I would recommend that the board members read through that carefully, and it does include the laws that were updated last legislative session that this refers to.
That also goes into JED, learner absences and excuses, which is also a new policy. Right, and then we have 4 policies going on notification of review, and those are policies B, D, E, school board subcommittees. JECE, student withdrawal from school. And JEDA, truancy. Sorry, and 2 more. Notification and review of JFA, student due process rights. And JFAA, the search and seizure learner. Any comments there? Ew, think we made it.
My wife looked at the list in the paper and thought she wouldn't see me until sunup. So
Thank you.
encourage her to move quickly.
All right, Superintendent will give an update on COVID-19 items.
Yeah, I'll just make this really brief. I know that I have received, and board members, you may have as well, some communications asking if and when we are going to move back to phase 1. As a point of reference, we're currently in phase 2. And the question has come based on the current results that we have. Today, we have 1 active case in our school system of COVID-19 that we're aware of. Our administrative team will be meeting. We will review our current protocol. I am reaching out, as I typically do, to our healthcare professionals as well. And if there is a recommendation forthcoming, we'll certainly include that on the agenda. So weighing in all the factors and taking everything into consideration before we would make any rash decision.
What is our community status, Dr. Willard? I've been, gone for a couple weeks.
I don't know what the current status is. I think we might still be in high community spread. But I did reach out, like I said, and getting that feedback from our healthcare professionals. So,
You foresee that on the 25th, or do you foresee that at a later meeting?
We could potentially have it as a discussion item on the 25th, but again, I'm going to wait till I have some feedback from our healthcare folks. But,
Sounds good.
Yep. But our trends right now have been positive. Our numbers have gone down, and we see that that's been consistent not only here but across the country. We've heard that happening. So again, I think we just have to proceed accordingly and navigate accordingly. So, and then as Brian shared earlier tonight, not directly related to COVID, but it is a COVID item, I guess. Our ESSER plan has to have some revisions made to it. I don't know that those are substantive revisions that would require a review once again by the board. In December, we are required to review our plan by the board and have action once again. That is something that we are required by ESSER to do. So just know that will be something projected into our December board meeting.
Good. All right. And now the superintendent will give an update on the facility plan progress.
Again, I don't want to belabor our earlier conversation other than to make our community aware that we are continuing with our discussions on 3 different facility conversations right now. 2 of them are schools, and 1 is our shared transportation facility progress with Brookings Area Transit Authority. Later on this evening, board members, you'll be presented with a memorandum of agreement with Beta to proceed with a transportation facility. That is a precursor to a grant that Beta is applying for through the Federal Transportation Authority, the FTA. So that is going to be recommended do pass for tonight because it does help us continue that process of working together. Now, relative to Madary and Hillcrest Elementary, as was referenced earlier, there have been multiple meetings with district administrators, school board representation, building administrators, as well as others with our architect, ARC Inc., and we are starting to talk about a roadmap to address facility needs. The preliminary roadmap suggests that we would replace the Hillcrest Elementary School with a new school, and that we would look to either renovate or replace the Madary School. That is a discussion that is yet to be finalized. We envision that there'll be some community meetings coming forward. Equally, we'll have some staff meetings to inform all staff members, but also to gather staff input about the process and the progress. So this is just an opportunity to communicate some of that progress that's been made and project a little bit into the future where we're going, so our constituent base listening and present are aware of the due diligence that we're doing relative to those facilities and the needs that we've identified.
All right. All right, it looks like we will next move on to the consent agenda. And I would need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Hey, Brian, we are ready for the vote. All right. Let go, Brian. Sorry. What do you want me to do?
I'm just speculating you might have jumped ahead a little fast. What happens if you go back?
Okay.
There you go.
A lot of fast clicking from me tonight. Sorry about that. Van told me Barb wanted him home, so I was just clicking away. I'm just kidding. All right. Sorry. Thanks. Motion passes. Okay. Now we've moved on to the action items for new and unfinished business. The first thing will be an action item for the approval of the memorandum of agreement establishing a teacher education hub between SDSU and the Brookings School District.
I so move.
Second.
Brian, we're ready for the vote.
Are there any significant differences between this agreement and last year's?
Melissa had
I
a
think
question if there were any significant differences.
There are not. There are not significant differences.
Motion passes. Next item, moving on to an approval of the memorandum of agreement establishing guidelines for a collaborative partnership between the South Dakota Board of Regents and the Brookings High School District to develop and deliver university courses to Brookings High School learners. Need a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Melissa, seconded by Wes. Any discussion on that item? Okay, Brian, we're ready for the vote. Okay, motion passes. Next, we'll move on to the approval of the 2021-2022 Brookings School District Comprehensive Plan for Special Education. Need a motion?
I move approval of the plan.
Second?
Any discussion?
Dr. Willett, can you highlight any changes there, anything we need to be really aware of?
As you look at it, the changes are highlighted in yellow. There really is nothing substantive that was a change as you look at it. This is part of an annualized process of approval so that we have our comprehensive plan on file. Last year we had to make a couple of changes because of some findings that were had, but this year minimal.
Great, thank you. Brian, I think we're ready for the vote. Motion passes. The next item is the approval of the Brookings Area Transit Authority and the Brookings School District Memorandum of Understanding for the proposed Southeast Transportation Facility. Looking for a motion?
I'll move approval of as presented.
I second.
Any discussion on that or comments?
Well, this deserves a little bit of explanation. We've talked informally about this. This has been in dialogue for 2 years with Beta, property acquisition, 2 years that we're then agreeing with Beta for joint use. And this will set the stage for improving our management of our vehicle fleet, particularly buses. And maybe Clint wants to add on a little bit more in terms of the impact of a little unusual memorandum of understanding as opposed to any other type of contractual arrangement with them.
Thank you.
But this is important for the Beta to move forward with our support for a federal grant potential application.
Yep.
And I think, thank you, Wes, for sharing that, because I think it is really important that everybody knows what this is really indicating and signifying and why we're doing this. This is something that, as Beta is putting forward their grant application, is required to demonstrate truly the joint venture nature of what is going to be proposed through the grant application process. And as you read through this, I think the fundamental piece that you have to understand is if the grant is approved, we are committed.
Yep.
We are in. And that's what we are acknowledging and recognizing through this process. If there's questions about our intent on how we would cover our portion of the expenditure, because when you get to page, I believe it's 6, you can start to see some of the budget, construction costs, etc. We believe that we have means within our capital outlay fund to support our portion of the facility construction. And you can see what is occurring within this structure. Essentially, we would, in the joint venture approach, receive a grant of nearly $6 million to help construct about a $9.5 million transportation facility. That's a pretty good return on investment from a local effort to a federal effort, and I think one that we can support. So that's why it's recommended to act on this evening. It keeps us in a timeline that's consistent with the needs of Beta as they apply for the federal grant, and supports our shared vision of this joint facility.
Great.
And I would just add, I think, I've said this from the beginning, that's a great collaborative effort for us to be working with Beta rather than having two separate facilities. It's a very good collaborative effort between the two organizations.
Okay. So Brian,
I was just going to say, in addition, let's see, somewhere in the front, they talked about the stakeholders, and another very good outcome would be for the Brookings County to have them regain the use of their entire facility, which they very much want.
I think we're ready for a vote. All right, the motion passes. Thanks for the work there. All right. The last action item besides adjournment is the approval to increase substitute teacher pay rate for retired teachers to $120 a day, $60 for a half day.
I move approval of increasing substitute teacher pay rate for retired teachers to $120 a day and $60 for the half day.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Any begging?
Maybe we should have had Dr. DeBates fill out a conflict of interest form, because she might be our first sub to take advantage of this opportunity.
I signed her up already. No, I'm just kidding. No, yes, just really encouraging, if you have the opportunity to apply to be a substitute teacher, to go ahead and do so.
What is?
I already recruited a bus driver, now you want?
Clint, what is a retired teacher?
We are acknowledging that if they are currently collecting South Dakota retirement, that they are qualified for this additional rate.
Right, any other discussion? Okay, Brian, I think we're ready for the vote. All right, motion passes. Thank you, everyone. I'll be looking for a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Any discussion? Ready for the vote. Thank you, everyone.